Good evening. Settle in, get comfortable, and let your mind drift into the silent, velvet dark of tonight. We're journeying back in time, back to a moment of quiet, chill in peril aboard Apollo 13. We often remember the explosion, the famous line, "Houston, we've had a problem." But tonight, we're going to feel a different part of that story, the bone-deep cold that seeped into everything as the spacecraft died around its crew. Imagine yourself floating, suspended in the vast emptiness between the Earth and the Moon. Your ship, once a warm, humming cradle of life, is now growing silent. One by one, the systems that generate heat and power are shut down to conserve every last drop of energy. The familiar hum of machinery fades into a whisper, and then into nothing. In its place, a new sensation begins to creep in. A profound, inescapable chill. The sun, a brilliant, distant star, bathes one side of the spacecraft in harsh light, but the other side is plunged into the absolute zero of deep space. The temperature inside the command module, Odyssey, and the lunar module, Aquarius, began to plummet. It was a cold, unlike anything on Earth. It wasn't the brisk cold of a winter's day. It was the lifeless, penetrating cold of the void. The walls of the spacecraft, thin layers of metal separating the astronauts from oblivion, began to feel like sheets of ice. Every surface they touched was frigid. The air they breathed turned sharp and thin. With the heaters off, the temperature dropped to just a few degrees above freezing. Think about that. 40 degrees, then 35, then nearing 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside a tiny metal can, hundreds of thousands of miles from home. The astronaut's Jim Lovell. And Fred Haise could see their own breath misting in the air, just as you might on a frosty morning. But there was no morning coming for them, not yet. Only the long, cold night of their journey home. The lack of power meant no warm food. Their meals, which should have been comforting, were now cold, unappetizing rations. Even their water was a challenge. They had to severely ration it, sipping only a few ounces a day. Dehydration became a serious threat, adding to the misery of the cold. The moisture from their breath, from their own bodies, had nowhere to go. It condensed on every surface, forming a thin, glistening layer of ice. The control panels, the windows, The walls, everything was coated in droplets of water that would soon freeze. It was like living inside a refrigerator, a damp, dark, freezing refrigerator floating through the cosmos. Fred Haise, in particular, suffered greatly. The constant cold, the dehydration, and the stress took their toll. He developed a severe urinary tract infection, his body temperature dropping dangerously low. In the silent darkness of the lunar module, which they were using as a lifeboat, he shivered uncontrollably, enduring a fever in a freezing environment. It was a testament to his sheer will that he continued to perform his duties, his mind focused on survival. Their sleep was fragmented, almost impossible. How could you rest when every inch of your body was chilled to the bone? They wore all the clothes they had, but it was never enough. The cold was relentless. It wasn't just a physical discomfort, it was a psychological weight. The cold was a constant reminder of their fragility, of how thin the line was between their fragile life support system and the unforgiving vacuum just outside. It was a quiet enemy, patient and persistent. In this frozen silence, there was no room for panic. There was only focus. There was the calm, steady voice of mission control in their ears, a lifeline of warmth and reason from a world away. And there was the quiet bravery of the crew. They didn't complain. They worked. They checked their calculations. They manually controlled their wounded ship. They conserved every watt of power. Their movements were slow, deliberate, preserving energy, preserving warmth. Imagine trying to flip a switch or write down a number when your fingers are numb with cold. Your body is shaking, and the fate of your mission rests on your every action. That was their reality for nearly 4 days. The journey home was a slow, cold drift. They watched the earth grow larger in their window, a beautiful, swirling marble of blue and white. It was a symbol of everything they were fighting for: warmth, air, family, life itself. That image, seen through a frost-covered porthole, must have been both a beacon of hope and a painful reminder of how far they still had to go. They were enduring this silent, frozen trial, a test of human endurance at its most extreme. The cold seeped into their bones, but it could not freeze their spirit. Their resolve remained, a small, warm flame of hope, burning steadily in the vast, cold darkness. As they finally prepared for re-entry, they had to move back into the command module, Odyssey. It had been powered down for days and was even colder and damper than the lunar module. Powering it back up was a race against time, following a procedure that had never been tested. Condensation ran in streams down the instrument panels, raising the terrifying possibility of short circuits. But with numb fingers and unwavering focus, they brought their frozen ship back to life. The warmth slowly returned. The hum of the machinery came back, a symphony of survival. The cold began to recede, a vanquished foe. As they plunged back into Earth's atmosphere, the friction of re-entry created an intense heat, turning the outside of their capsule into a glowing fireball. After days of shivering in the deep freeze of space, they were now surrounded by incredible heat. It was the final, fiery embrace of home. They had made it. They had crossed the cold, dark void and returned. The story is not just one of technical ingenuity and a crisis of... It's a story of quiet endurance, of facing a slow, creeping threat with patience and unshakable courage. It's a reminder that sometimes the greatest battles are fought not with loud explosions, but in the silent, freezing dark. So as you drift off to sleep tonight, let the quiet calm of space surround you, but feel, too, a sense of warmth and safety. Remember the quiet bravery of 3 men who endured the ultimate cold and found their way home. Rest well and sleep deeply. Thanks for listening. Follow us for more journeys into the quiet corners of history.